Hi, guys, and welcome to the Infinite Improvement Podcast with me, Coach Christo and Coach Andres, where we're going to talk, about lots of different things coming from our, coaching philosophies. So I thought it'd be good to start this episode off because it's episode 1. We're going to talk very broadly about our coaching philosophies, how we approach coaching, how we approach sports in general. We both played at a decent level and now we're coaches. So we're going to start. We each came up with kind of we boiled down our coaching philosophy to, one kind of phrase. So we'll talk about that. So Andres, can you share with us the phrase that you came up with that kind of encapsulates your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks for the intro, Christo. For me, this is the phrase that I use, and not just when I coach soccer, but in all things that I do throughout my life. So it's beyond the game, through the game, and so whatever the elements or the portal is that I'm using. So in this case, is the game. It's always beyond that, but through that. So beyond the game, through the game. When it comes to my coaching career, that's the phrase that I always go to.
Okay, so that's actually very interesting because obviously, people who have followed me know that I talk a lot about even though I am a soccer coach and that's how I have my social media following. That's my my job. That's what I do every day. I talk so much about things that happen off the field, and I remember just to give a little story on kind of like why I do that. One story stands out to me, and it's I had played for 2 coaches in very quick succession, and one of them was talking to me, and he said something like, you can separate who you are off the field and who you are on the field. So, you can be a different person off the field and you can be a different person on the field. And the second coach that I played for, very, I switched teams. I played for a different coach. And he told me, no, you can't do that. You can't separate who you are off the field from who you are on the field. And, obviously, like, you're not going to be exactly the same person off the field and on the field. Like, on the field, you're going to compete with people and stuff. But at the same time, like, I think you can't just flip a switch and be a different person when you're playing, right? Like, everything that you do in life kind of informs what you do on the field. And I think, like, if you're like, for me, if you're a confident person off the field, you'd be confident when you step onto the pitch. If you believe in yourself off the field, that'll help you believe in yourself off, on the pitch. So I think it's very important to kind of take care of yourself off the field, because I think that does translate to how you play.
Did you have a preference of, like, from those 2 coaches? Like, did you enjoy just being your same self, or did you?
No, I loved that I could. Well, I think the idea was that I wasn't a very confident person at that time, just in life in general. So instead of trying to solve that issue by helping me generally, that coach just told me, leave whatever, your life situation is, and just we'll focus on the field stuff. Whereas the other coach actually talked to me a lot about stuff that was going on off the field. So he talked to me about how my life was going in general, random things that were stressing me out, just, in life. I have, family stresses, but I'm having issues with friends and stuff. He talked to me about that stuff a lot. And I actually found that incredibly helpful. It's just like, he was kind of taking care of me as a person rather than just, an athlete, which meant a lot to me.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% with that. I think, I genuinely feel that, had we been born in a different place with different family, different culture, I wonder if football or soccer would be our portal to live the game, whether it was player, coach, whatever you may be. So I just think there's this intrinsic desire to play for humans, and to learn and to teach. And so it just happens that I was born in Colombia. That's what the blood takes you, in
Yeah.
Colombia. And so that happens. But had basketball been the case, I might be a basketball coach. I don't know with my height if I'd be a basketball coach.
Well, you can
But
be a coach with your height, right? You might just not
with
have
the height,
succeeded
yeah,
as much as a
not the
player.
player. But I don't know if I would have been able to have the experience.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I firmly believe that there's a distinction, and that sometimes we fall in love with the game and we say I was born for this game, and you convince yourself that you and soccer are like that perfect couple, but it's actually not soccer. It's just happens to be where you grew up, and all these other things that had you been born anywhere else or a different family, you would still execute whatever it is at a very high level. It just might not be that portal. And understanding that doesn't mean you detach or love the game more. It just helps you deconstruct your connection with the game, and then reconstruct it with a healthier approach. If you
Yeah,
get what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah, it could definitely be, something else for really anyone. Obviously, soccer's,
Yeah,
the most popular sport
yeah,
in the world. And, it's yeah, but like, if different things happen, I definitely could, I could have been, going into a different field or something.
yeah, yeah.
But, at the same time, I think it's nice, like, because I think a lot of the things that I say, and, a lot of the things you say, I think they apply whether you play soccer or not, right? Like,
Yeah,
I talk a lot about life outside of the field. I work with athletes from, a variety of sports. I have, obviously a lot of soccer players, rugby players, American football players, basketball players, golfers, baseball players. I had a bull rider message me on Instagram asking for
wow,
confidence tips the other day, which
yeah,
was
wow,
very, very interesting. So yeah, I think it's definitely you know I talk about things that are kind of like more universal than
yeah,
just football.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. But that being said, it is through my relationship with football that it helps me get to the human. And
Mhm.
so it's such a paradox, because I wouldn't I still choose football, even though I deconstruct in a way that maybe the thing that I love is not football. Um, that's the way that I happen to live this story, um, uh, for my 28 years. So I use it to my advantage, and I mean, I don't know, like maybe later on I could do something else, but I think why not do something that I've enjoyed, and then because the same message or the same um impact can be done in any other field. But there's also other people in other fields, so like I also don't feel that pressure that like, oh, I have to go all around. But I've also allocated my roles in life, so I'm not only a soccer coach or a football coach, but it is what I'm so passionate about, so
Yeah, yeah. So how does beyond the game, through the game manifest, like when you're on the field working with kids, whether it's with a team or you're doing your, individual trainings, group sessions. How would you say, like, how would I see that in your actual coaching?
Okay, okay, all right, cool. So the question was, how do I execute beyond the game, through the game, in my on the field with my players.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, I think if you go and watch a training session, you will probably, um, you might even miss it, um, because on the field, it's that through the game portion, that you'll be able to see with the drills, with the intensity, and my passion for the game. But I think the beyond the game part comes in, when the players show up, and I'm like, how was your day today? Or like, I'll be like, what did you learn in school today? Tell me one thing, and then they'll say something like, that I don't like school, and then I'll
Yeah.
build from there. Or like I'll say, hey, what's what are you watching nowadays on Netflix? Or I'll try to like, what's good on TikTok? Who should I follow? And
Coach
so
Christo.
it's, yeah, Coach Christo. And so those are the first elements that I try to grab. Um, and so once they give me somebody to follow, once they give me a Netflix show, then those are the things that I take with me. And okay, if I've watched the show, then now I have some common ground to interact with them. If I have to go follow the person that they follow on TikTok or Instagram, and it's not that I'm gonna just sit there and follow, but like it's just to
Yeah.
get one more thing that the next time I talk to them, I say, oh, I saw this post about this person that you, and so, but that's probably like no more than like a 3-minute conversation. But there's something there's something about that human that felt heard outside of their identity of a footballer. And so I think those are the seeds that I start to plant, that start to go beyond that space that we are on. And so next time this person is watching that show, I wonder if they think, oh, I wonder if coach saw this. And I'm gonna go share this. And then next time, like, I don't have to say what's your favorite Netflix show because I've already brought it up twice. So they'll come and say, like, did you see the episode and this happened? Did I see that or not? Doesn't matter. We started a conversation beyond the game on that field. And those are like just little things to the point that eventually, depending on how close the relationship with some of the players, they'll reach out and ask some more personal stuff if needed. They'll see also my social media, and they'll see some of the things that I do. I guess a quick story. It was like I was helping out with high school, and then there was a player that came up to me, and he said, hey, like, I've seen some of the stuff that you do, and you're involved with the church. Do you go to church? And then I said, yeah, I go to church. And then he started to just talk to me about his relationship, romantic relationship. And then I'm like running a session. I'm like, it's 2 touches over here, no unlimited over here. And he's like, yeah, but like, I want to talk to you about sin and like, what is like, how do you not feel guilty with this stuff? So like, I'm in the middle of the field, and this kid is like talking to me about certain intimate questions that he
Yeah.
has. And so I think that's almost like the peak of like living beyond the game through the game. But that only starts the moment in which I just say, hey, what's up, whatever the player name is, and ask them little things at I can't do that in the middle of practice. It has to be either
Yeah.
at the beginning or at the end. But then it's really taking those things with me, and like, I journal a lot, either journaling about it. Sometimes I'll say, like, when I feel that I can't trigger the player, if he's coming to practice with headphones, what's your go-to song? What's on replay right now for you? And so I take that song and I'll listen to the song, and maybe I'll journal like, okay, what can this player be listening to? Why does he enjoy that song? And then next time I'm like, yo, this bar, this line, it was fire. And so you fragment, or you fracture that coach player relationship only. And I think that's when you start to tap into the beyond the game. And it grows in I think trust. So I think that's how I try to do it on the field. Whether it's team practice or individual training, those are kind of my tactics for beyond the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Cause like, I've played for so many coaches. I can't even remember them all, but, I remember the ones that, talked to me and asked me how I was, as a person, rather than just wanted me as an athlete, because it's easy. Like, as a player, like you said, you don't, a coach might have 20 players on the team. It's like, you don't have individual time with all of them every session. Right.
Yep.
But those, just the little things, they really can mean, everything to a player, right? A little conversation, it could be 30 seconds, right? But it can mean so much to a player. And I think to really unlock the potential of a player, I honestly believe that that player needs to know that you like care about them as a person, right? Not just what they can do for you on the field at any level, really. Like, and I think that was like something for me, like the thing that helped me the most was, because as I said, as a player, I had a lot of issues with confidence and stuff. Inconsistency. I had anxiety attacks. So one thing that really, really helped me is, a coach said to me, look, Christo, you make mistakes. You have a bad game. You have a bad week, a bad season. Doesn't matter. I'm still here for you. I still believe in you. I'm not gonna, just stop caring about you because you're not performing on the field. And just like that, taking that pressure off my back just helped me so much. It was crazy. My conversations might have been, in the bar after games rather than, at the training sessions and stuff. But at the same time, I played in England, and it was, custom, to get to the bar and get a pint after games. I don't drink much at all myself, but I still wanted to be, there with the team and there with the coach and, having conversations. And, I think it's like a lot of players kind of get in this mindset where it's just them. I have to do this myself, and you do have to do it yourself, but there's a lot of people around you that can help you if you ask for help, if you talk to your coach, if you're honest with your teammates, right? Like, I think a lot of people feel like they can't show any weakness or anything, but any player who comes to me and asks me an honest question, I'm gonna give him an honest answer. I'm gonna give him a bit of my time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And we also don't know what's going on at home, at school, in a significant relationship, or a romantic relationship. And so I think we have to become as creative as possible to not feel that like we're getting in their business, but it's just like, hey, but if you want to share about anything other than the training session that we're going to talk about here, this coach, somebody told me that like the players, like they don't care how much you know until they know that you care. And when they told me that, I was like, wow, like this is so true, because it doesn't matter how good of a coach or tactician or whatever it is that you want to do, if there's not a connection in them believing that you're there for them first and then the player, I don't know that it's going to translate what's in your brain into their brain. And at the end of the day, whether the tactics translate or not, like you're going to have so many players, and they're going to have so many coaches. You're not here to make that one person the next whatever player he wants to become. But I do think that you have an opportunity to make the one word that I try to keep on the background of my environment is safe. And not safe as in like only like don't get injured, but if like when you feel safe, you're okay with sharing, you're okay with laughing, you're okay with getting angry, you're okay with walking off the field and talking about it with coach.
You're okay with making mistakes on the field.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So I think if you create a safe space for the player or anybody you're interacting with, man, I think they're gonna start to. And here in America, there's a lot of things that I had to adapt to with regards to players that like they play all the sports. They'll play lacrosse, they'll play baseball, they'll play, and so like I'm not gonna beat that environment, that structure. The only thing I can do is if my place feels safer and you can be your most authentic self in my 90 minutes, they're gonna on their own. The player is gonna start to choose my session or my sport, not my sport, but the sport that I coach over some of the other ones. So I think sometimes like we can get angry and like, why are you playing so many sports? Why are you like, you got to pick one? And like, okay, maybe that was your reality. That was my reality. I wasn't going to play basketball, like I said, because of my height or baseball or any of these things. But I got to understand that my reality is not everybody's reality.
Yeah. And that's actually a good segue into, we can talk a little bit about what I boiled my coaching philosophy down to in a couple words. Because it was enjoyment leads to development, leads to success. And that's it. And basically the idea is that everything starts from enjoyment. I'm talking about every single level. So, the worst team I've ever worked with, the best team I've ever worked with, it always starts with enjoyment.
So wait, so how how would you describe the word enjoyment itself, or just to start in that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to like, but I think, anyone who plays any sport, I think everyone has that one thing that they just absolutely love and they don't really know why. We were talking about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
It's a lot about like where you grow up and your family around you and your friends.
Yeah.
That's definitely why I love the game. But it's tough really to describe, but I think that like, when you love something, right?
I think, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just like, if you love the game. And I think my first job as a coach is always to, foster that love of the game. Probably my, one of the things that I would hate, like the most would be to, drive a player away from the sport. Right. I think like, you can work hard, you can train with intensity, you can play at a high level while enjoying it. Now, you might not enjoy every minute of every training session. You definitely don't. You might not enjoy every minute of every game. You might not even enjoy every training session or every game, right? Yeah. But I think like the overall, if the enjoyment is there, that's what everything else is going to build off. And you can't really build, for me, you can't really build from anything else, because if you try to build from like, if you want success, there are other ways you can go about getting success than through soccer, which is, so incredibly competitive, so incredibly hard. If you want, if you play because you want to be a good player, I still think like, it's not enough. You need to love the game. And I think like players who are successful always love the game.
I completely agree with that, because that's it's almost like a human foundation, as opposed to just like, it's not only through soccer. So I think the two words that really stick out to me in that phrase is enjoy and success. And so I guess one question would be for me, like, how do you identify what they enjoy and what success means to them? Or do you attempt to, hey, this is what Christo thinks enjoyment is and what success is, let's try this together? Or do you try to see what it is from their point of view?
Yeah. So, I mean, success will mean something different to everyone. I'm big on encouraging athletes to pursue like mastery. So that's why we have development in there as well. Because what
do you mean by mastery?
Yeah. So I think that when you think about success, you think about it in kind of two ways. So you can think about like things that you accomplish. So like improving as a footballer, things that you have control over. And then there's like, so that'd be like internal success. And then things that you don't maybe have control over. So winning games, winning championships, playing professionally.
Sorry, wait. Give me an example of internal success, just so practical.
Yeah. So just like improvement. So increasing your confidence, improving your weak foot, improving your first touch, improving your passing. So just like improving as a player or as a person, right? Like it could be in school, learning to read, learning to write. So I think that the only way you can have external success, and obviously we don't always have control over external success, right? Like I can't just decide that I'm going to win the Champions League, right? It's not that easy. Like, but the only way I'm going to get there is if I become the best player that I can be. So we start with enjoyment. All right. From enjoyment, that's what's going to motivate you to become the best player that you can be. And once you become the best player you can be, the success comes last. So maybe you do play professionally. Maybe you play Division I in college. Maybe you just play at the highest level that you can. Even when we're talking about success, I like to keep it. I'd rather say like success is playing at the highest level you can, rather than say it's like signing a professional contract. Because I think you can limit yourself and put a lot of pressure on yourself if you have like goals like that, right? Like win the World Cup. What if I'm from Greece? But I think everything starts from development. From development, you can build yourself into the best person or player or writer or whatever it is you enjoy. Build yourself into the best person you can be, and from that you'll experience you will experience success. Might not always be exactly what maybe wrote down as your goal a couple of years ago, but you will experience some success. 100%.
I really like when you talk about that it's almost like you're just competing against yourself. And that is what really defines success. Was I better than Andres yesterday? And I think that hits onto like such a fundamental point or aspect or element of this time, which it's comparison. And I think comparison, like looking at that phrase that you have, if it's almost like it's like the COVID-19. Like if you get infected with comparison, it's gonna be a long recovery road. And so how do you help players fight that comparison? And sometimes we even do it like not consciously. Like when you're scrolling, that's you're most susceptible
to everyone.
To comparing yourself, right? When you get on the field and you've been the best player for the last 3 seasons, and then somebody comes and it's perceived, or this guy was recruited from this place. Once they step on the field, it kind of changes your vibe, your air, and it's like, okay, now I got to prove that I'm the lion in this field. And in just that moment, automatically you're shifting your focus, and I think you start to become susceptible to leaving that enjoyment, development, success. How do you help players with comparison?
So like tons of different kind of ways I could go with this. So I'll start with like on the field stuff. As a coach, I'm very big on, obviously, I think that individual development is extremely important, but it's also extremely important this is a team sport. The environment that you foster as a coach is just so incredibly important. So I remember when I was a player and I played for a high level academy team, and the stress and the pressure that I felt to, be the best one there was unbelievable to me. And obviously, a lot of this stress and pressure was me building it up in my mind. Right. But it was like so incredible to where, like, when I would be on the bench and I'd be watching my teammates play, I would want them to fail so that I could go on. Or, if I was playing, I would be like, I would think like, oh, my teammates on the bench, they want me to fail. They're not here for me. Like, and it,
that's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. And like, it's, because
you, that would be inside of you. Like your teammate could probably had already defeated that. And they'd be like, I hope Christo makes the right pass. I hope Christo, but that's all inside of you. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So, and obviously, like looking back myself there, I'm like, shaking my head. I don't want any player to want their teammates to fail. I don't want any teammate to think, or player to think that their teammates want them to fail. So whenever, I talk about that a lot, and whenever I see that, like, creeping in, we'll stop a session. We'll talk about it, because, it's obviously, athletes make mistakes in every session, and every once in a while we'll have a little laugh, that was a horrible miss, or missed open goal. Like, it's whatever. But I always make sure, I do a couple different things. So obviously, in team talks, we'll always, talk. I'll always talk about, how important it is to, stick together, that we're in this together. I honestly believe that like the easiest way to succeed as a team, as a player, is to help your team succeed, right? Like good players make their teams good. They don't just, I don't know. They don't just play well individually.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to lead by example. And I think if you're a good player, you'll find a way to do that. So, I've played good players out of position because I think it's, what's best for the team. And if I do that, I'll always talk to them. I'll always explain the situation, but I'll also explain to them that team comes first. We have 20 players on this team. No individual is ever more important. I don't care how good you are. Because if you can't find a way to succeed in a team environment, you're playing in the wrong sport. Another thing I do very often is at the end of training sessions, I'll talk individually to at least one, maybe two people. And I'll always like recognize someone who did, very, very well in that session. Not necessarily just that they were playing well, maybe their attitude, maybe how hard they worked. Obviously, a lot of the time players play well when their attitude is good and when they work hard. But, little things like that, I know mean a lot to players. And, it takes me an extra 30 seconds to a minute to say, hey, you did incredibly well today. That's the hardest I've seen you work. Never comparing them to other people, never saying like you worked harder than, this other player or something. It's all about you. Right. And I think like, you just have to avoid comparing the players both in your mind as a coach, because you have to think about the players individually and collectively as a team rather than this player versus this player versus this player. And you need to also do that in front of them, right? I'm never going to take two players in front of the team and be like, you're better than you or whatever it is. Right. I think it's easy to kind of fall into that trap. And then, like off the field stuff, I think it's important to talk about off the field stuff, because I know like most athletes don't do this stuff. But like, especially as you said, in our world now, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people, Instagram, on TikTok, all of this stuff. It's, it's right there. And you see like, it's tough. I can't imagine if I was a kid growing up now, might be even more difficult. I might be comparing myself to other people even more.
Which is part of the reason why I appreciate what you do, because I think you have two options. You can fight against that and limit your kids, or if you're a parent, to have social media. But the reality is social media is gonna get even bigger. So you either don't try your best and not let them get in there, or you do what Christo does, which is infiltrate. And then in the moments in which they're scrolling, can I disrupt this narrative? And if I catch them for about a minute, maybe the time that they're here on TikTok will be more edifying for their career, for what they're looking for, which I like that better than just fighting against social media, as opposed to just, okay, let me team up with social media, because there's this negative approach to like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, but that I feel like that's the lazy way out. What if we reimagine how we coach through those portals? Because I don't know that they're going anywhere.
No. Yeah, definitely. And, I think it's kind of like, if you go on a diet and you're very, very strict, and then you eat one donut
Yeah.
might end up eating the whole box, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think like it's
So so are you in that example? Are you recreating a healthier donut?
and maybe, but like,
Maybe. Okay.
like if I think like all things in moderation. I think anything can be
Yeah.
bad if you do too much of it, right? Like even training can be bad if you're training like athletes come to me and they're like, I'm training 6 hours every day, every single day. It's like, maybe
What? First
that's,
of all, what is training?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like, are you literally like, they'll be like, oh, I ran like 6 miles yesterday, and then I went to the field and I played for 2 hours, and it's like, like anything can be bad if you do it too much. And I'm not saying don't
Mhm.
work hard. Obviously, you need to work hard, but
Yeah.
there's different ways to work hard, right? And you can work hard in different ways. That's kind of like, my brand of improving always is about improving in different ways, not just in one single way, right?
Mhm.
So to go back to like, comparing yourself to other people, I think like there are real ways that you can stop doing that off
Yeah.
the field. So, I'm a big fan of, doing things like meditation, taking time for yourself, taking time to talk to other people openly and honestly,
Yeah.
doing things like I design. So for comparison, what I'd say is one type of script that I work with athletes to help them to avoid comparing themselves to other people is self-talk scripts. So positive self-talk is incredibly valuable. And basically, when I do this, is basically like a hype video for a player. So I'll make like a video of their highlights and I'll put it to some nice music, and I'll be saying like, you're a great player, look at all of this stuff that you've accomplished.
Yeah.
Just to like kind of have that athlete like pause for a second and be like, oh yeah, I am a good player. And then
Mhm.
they can go put that show that out
Yeah.
on the field. So yeah, obviously through my coaching style, I'll help athletes to avoid comparing themselves to other people, but then also,
Yeah.
do encourage them to do things off the field that are good for their mental health, because
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
it's a tough world.
It is, and yeah, I think the way you look at yourself has to be, and there is such a fine line because, like, you could be perceived as arrogant if you have too much self confidence, but like, I would prefer to take you there and then cut you back off, um, because at the end of the day, I think you're more likely to not achieve or not get closer to the things that you have imagined if you don't believe in yourself first. you know which again, so going back to comparison, it's such a dangerous road, but then there's this other word that comes to mind, which is admiration. And so to what level is it okay to admire, and at what moment is it become unhealthy when you go from admiration to comparing, and so, because I think the most beautiful thing about, like you were saying, the game is the fact that it's a collective environment. And so when I have one of my best players, individual one-on-one players, continue to give up the ball in a dangerous spot, I sometimes bring them off and like, hey, take a look at this player who's really simple off the ball. Check out his decisions, but it's not for you to be that all the time. It's more of like, okay, look at this portion of the field, how he problem solves. Um, do you advise your players to admire other players, or to look up to other ways, outside of themselves?
Yeah, so I think most players could probably learn something from watching, like so many different players, right? Like, so I had a group session where I had a professional player, and then I had a 15-year-old, just playing club and in high school. Um,
They were on the
and
same training session, or
same training
they're
session
separate?
together.
Same session.
Um, so obviously, usually there's not that big a gap, but today there just happened to be that big a gap, right? Um, but I still did the training session together. And we were doing this drill. We were working on, because they were both wide players, we were working on, creating space to whip it across. Right. And the 15-year-old, this like incredible little like body feint to open up space, took his touch, whipped in the cross. Like, holy cow, do that again. Let's watch that. So me and the professional player watched him do it again. And it's just like, I think that you can learn so much from watching other people. And I don't think that you should mold your game off of any one other person, right? Like, you're asking me like, how do I dribble like Messi or shoot like Ronaldo or something? No.
Yeah.
You do it like you. Right. And you can learn from them. But at the end of the day, you're the one who has to go out in the field and take 1,000 shots to figure out what works for you. But you can learn from almost anyone. And I think it's, talked about confidence before. I think like confidence obviously is very, very good and important. But you need to also realize that, especially at the youth level, you haven't accomplished anything yet. You have a lot to learn, and you can learn that stuff from, if you're not open to learning from anyone, you're not really open to learning at all. Right. You can't just be like, oh, I'm only going to learn from watching professionals. You have to learn from your teammates around you as well. And that's, stuff that happens on the field, stuff that happens off the field as well. So, as long as you're open to learning, I don't think like confidence becomes like too much of an issue, right? It's just where if you start to close off, you're like, I'm not going to learn anything from that coach. I'm not going to learn anything from that player. That's where it can kind of become an issue at times. Yeah.
And I agree. And I think that's a practical approach to just not just soccer, like anything. Like when you look up to others, I think it's almost like a humbling act of, okay, I don't know it all. Let me see how this guy coaches. Let me see, and is this style maybe a style that I might need to incorporate at some point, whether you're a coach or a player, whether you're a basketball player or you're a soccer player, when we go to school, like you're learning from the professor, you're learning from somebody else. It's never just you. It's just not coming from inside of you without somebody around you helping you pull it out. I do think it is inside of you, but you need all these other people who have perhaps experienced things. And if you realize that, if you make that connection that if you're one of the most skillful players and you still have to come out and maybe look at how somebody else that's not perceived as skillful as you does it. I think when you go and you're running a business, whether it's soccer or not soccer, or whatever your career is, and you feel that you're talented, you still start to do that tactic. Let me come back and look at this other business. And I think maybe in that manner, I wonder if, like, I don't know, if you had MySpace. I wonder if MySpace thought they got it all together and they didn't come back and look, okay, who's doing it this way? And then Facebook came and, like, and so, like, how can we use these same tactics that I use being a top player to not compare but admire, and humble, arrogance but humble, and again, at the end of the day, to be the best version compared to who I was yesterday, with enjoyment. I think, like you're saying, I think
you lost my whole audience when you mentioned MySpace, just so you know.
No, but you're not on MySpace.
We're getting towards the end now. I think we've covered, our coaching philosophies. There's one thing that you mentioned that I want to say again, is that, like, it's much easier to start a player with some confidence and then, help them maybe with a little bit of humility, and help them realize that they haven't accomplished what they need to yet, or what they want to yet. And I think that's very, very true. Like, I would much rather that than a player come to me who was in like the situation that I was in, where I had no confidence, because that's much more difficult. I think to build that confidence. So, you know, one thing that I say to a lot of players is like, if you're at a point where you just don't believe in yourself, it's incredibly difficult. Have you ever heard like, what would you do today if you knew that you couldn't fail?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
ever heard? Yeah. So
yeah,
I think that's, I love that. And I've
yeah,
tried to like bring that onto the field. So like, when I was at, you know, a very, very low moment, you know, a coach told me, you know, what would you try today? How would you play today if you knew that everything you tried was going to work?
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes, like, you know, we'll talk about, you know, tactical stuff next week. And obviously, you know, soccer, most of the time you play
yeah,
simply and then you add in those moments of brilliance. But I
yeah,
think like, it's sometimes you just, the
yeah,
confidence is the most important thing. Sometimes you
yeah,
need to
and
play like, you know, everything that you tried is going to work, because
yeah,
otherwise, you know,
yeah,
without confidence, if you always play it safe,
yeah,
you'll never have any idea how good a
yeah.
player you could be, right?
That's a and that's a such a powerful question. That
All right.
I'm good. You am I back?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I think you're back. Say something.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, good.
I think the stuff you're saying is just freezing the whole internet, bro. Like, it's too good. But you said that you had a coach come to you, and how would you play if?
Yeah.
So what was
Oh,
the what?
yeah. How would you play if you knew that everything you tried would work? Now,
Yeah,
obviously, when I say that, like, you know, athletes are always like, oh, I'm going to shoot from half or something. Like, you can
yeah,
take it literally, or you can take the meaning behind it, which is
yeah,
like, you have to believe in yourself. You have to think
yes,
that the things that you try are going to work. That pass is going to find your teammate. You know, that
yeah.
1v1 you're going to take, you're going to win it. You know, like, obviously it was a little bit of, you know, extreme what he
No, no,
said to
no. But
me.
I like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the power in that question is that extreme. So like
Yeah.
when we talk about I have players come in and ask me like I want to go to this college. I want to go to this college. Like what club should I go to? What's my next step? Should I play ECNL Academy, MPL? Like what where should I go? And I think I go around that similar question. I tell them, okay, if regardless of what club you play for today, you got signed by that team or by that college, where would you play today? And then I
Mhm.
tell them, if at the same time you were, no matter where you played, that didn't happen. Like you're not gonna get signed by that college, that school, that team. If that wasn't gonna happen, no matter what you did today, where would you play today? And I think a lot of the players end up choosing, I guess, going to your philosophy, the place where they enjoy the most today. And I think being able to create this almost futuristic mentality that like, okay, go to the future and oh shoot, what I do now, I don't know that it really will fully influence and I don't have control over it. And so I think that's when like those are the type of questions that I work with. And I think when you talk about infinite ballers, that's the mentality that I try to incorporate. Like the infinite part of it is taking you to a future that you haven't seen today, and giving you both. You'll get signed and you won't get signed. Okay, eliminate those. What do you do today?
Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful because it liberates you to just play freely in the moment or make that decision freely in the moment. So I think that coach really took you to a place where you had no choice but to enjoy the way you play or play the
Yeah.
way that
Yeah.
you enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was an extreme situation. I needed him to say something to like snap
Yeah.
me, to wake me up, kind of, right? And it worked. So yeah, I think that's where we'll leave this episode of the Infinite Improvement podcast. We're gonna I'll drop our links to social media and to, you know, Infinite Ballers in the description. And this will be on YouTube. It'll be on Spotify. It'll be on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, that was, great conversation. Thanks so much, Andres. And we'll be back.
Thank you, Christo, for having me. You gotta save some of the wisdom so the Wi-Fi doesn't break next time.
Yeah, all right. We'll do that.
Always good to share and talk about soccer.
Always. All right. Peace.
All right, take care, bud.